So, welcome to the Gratitude for Time podcast. So, our guest today is a World Series champion and current Oakland Athletics second baseman, Tony Kemp. Thank you for your time, Tony. Before we get into it, I just kind of want to highlight some of his accomplishments on and off the field. So, there's a lot, so just bear with me. So, in 2011, Tony was the SEC Freshman of the Year. He's part of the first Vanderbilt baseball team to make the College World Series in 2011. In 2013, he was the SEC Player of the Year. They had a 26-3 SEC record, which is the best ever. In 2017, he then goes on as a World Series champion with the Houston Astros. And then with the Oakland A's, they won the AL West Division in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Just a lot of greatness throughout your career so far. Then off the field, he's a two-time Roberto Clemente nominee, which is like an award for really bringing a lot of value to the community and helping others. So that's a really great reputational award to win, or to be at least nominated for. And then you started the Plus One Effect, which is, I'll let you talk about it a little bit. And then you're also part of the Players of the Planet Reforestation Project. And that just addresses a big issue with climate change and all of that. But if you kind of want to just start off by talking about the Plus One Effect a little bit, and then we can kind of go into your life story here.
Yeah, I appreciate the introduction. That was that was nice, man. Yeah, the Plus One Effect started right around the George Floyd murder, and obviously the baseball season had been postponed up until that point, so we all had to fly back from Arizona, and got here, and obviously the murder unfortunately happened, and people were very confused, especially me. And, that's when I kind of sent out like, hey, if anybody wants to talk about it, like on Instagram or on Twitter, like, hey, let's talk about it. And yeah, it kind of just formed there. And I was talking with my uncle. We got on a Zoom call with about 15 or 16 of like our cousins, brothers, uncles, and we all cousins, and we kind of just like got on there. Obviously some were upset, some were pretty taken aback by the event, and my uncle said, we just need positive change in this world, and kind of starts with one person and goes to the next. It's kind of like a plus one effect. And my uncle, I had some more conversations with him, but when I heard the Plus One Effect, I kind of liked what he was talking about, and I kind of wanted to open it up to more discussion. So that's when I decided to, I asked him, I was like, hey, I think I'm just gonna take this Plus One Effect and like, put a patent on it and see what we can do with it, man. And, so started having these open dialogues, open conversations about race with just random people. And, to do it from, the platform that I have, I felt like it resonated on a little higher level. Just, I feel like, people look at professional athletes and, in a different light. So yeah, I just started talking to random people. My wife, we were starting talking to just random people. And, I think everything obviously happens for a reason, because if COVID never happened, if I would have been in season, I don't think I would have had enough time to actually sit down and have the time to actually talk to people and, give my time to them, and, that energy and that focus. And yeah, it was actually like just a true blessing to be a part of it. And, when the whole Plus One Effect and people started wearing their t-shirts, and, you see people actually getting behind it, it's like I always say, it exceeded all of my expectations of what I thought the campaign was going to be, and kind of took a whole different positive direction. So very happy about, obviously the progress with it.
Yeah, man. I've seen it everywhere. So I know it's exploded, and really like getting people to think, I think,
Yeah.
in a positive way. Um, yeah. So if you could kind of just talk to us about where you were born, when you were born, and kind of your path through time getting here. I think it would be really great just to hear, allow people to like figure out who you are and where you came from and all of that. So
Yeah, for
I'll
sure.
leave it up to you.
Man, honestly, look back at my life, just a true blessing. Turned 30 this past Halloween, and we were down in Mexico for that. And yeah, born in Franklin, Tennessee, 30 minutes south of Vanderbilt, and a little suburb, yeah, Vandy, anchor down, baby. And so born there, and then ended up moving to Maryland for a little bit. I'm the youngest of three. I have an older sister who has two kids and an older brother who has three kids. And yeah, I'm the baby. Always have been. They always say I got pampered, so we always make jokes about it. But moved back from Maryland. My dad works for Caterpillar Financial, so his job moved again. So he came back to Franklin, and then went to Centennial High School, went to Freedom Middle School, all in Franklin. Played football, basketball, and baseball all the way up until my sophomore year of high school. Then my coach made me decide, because I was missing too many practices. So he said, "You're either going to choose basketball or baseball." And I was like, "Well, I'm only 5'6", so I'm not really going to be, point guard in the NBA." And that's when I changed gears and just did football and baseball. And then, yeah, I played up until my senior year, got a scholarship to go to East Carolina University. And then later on, Vanderbilt offered. So I ended up decommitting from East Carolina University, committing to Vandy. Yeah, still waiting to get that call from the coach. He hasn't called me back yet, which I understand. I mean, I went back on my word, but I feel like, a full ride from Vandy, it's kind of hard to pass that up, especially being 30 minutes down the road. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I went to Vandy, and then, yeah, like you said, we had a good freshman year. Went to the World Series. And then that next year, man, just put a lot of pressure on myself. Was hitting leadoff, trying to do too much, and didn't have a good sophomore year. Ended up going up to the Cape Cod League, having some success there. And then, going into junior year, had a pretty good year. My now wife, Michelle, was able to stay with me. She took an internship at News Channel 5. So I have to credit a lot of that season to her, just because she was able to be there. And, that was something I didn't have to worry about, her walking home at night in Toronto and different things like that. So her coming back was huge. And then got drafted by the Astros in the 5th round. Decided to forego my senior year. Went to the draft, became a professional. Started in short season, got called up to low A during that season. Yeah, make a long story short, ended up debuting in 2016 with the Astros, May 15th, May 16th, something like that. And ended up being with the Astros 16, 17, 18, 19, got traded from the Astros in 19 to the Chicago Cubs, and then played 2 months in Chicago, which is pretty cool. And then after Chicago, in the offseason, I got done with the workout, and I got a call from one of the front office people, which was like the GM at the time. And I didn't recognize the number, so I was like ignoring the calls. And then finally I get a text, and it's like, "Hey, Tony, this is so-and-so with the Cubs. Give me a call back." And I was like, I honestly thought I was getting released or fired. And I ended up talking to him, and he said, "Hey, this is kind of a weird conversation." That's how he started it off. So I thought obviously it wasn't going to be good. And he said, "Yeah, you've been traded to the Oakland A's. We put in a trade in place that, they've been asking about you all off season and stuff." So ended up getting traded in the off season to the A's of 2020. Yeah, so that was wild. And then it was a COVID year. And then, yeah, had the season last year with them too. And now I'm in, it's called arbitration. So you go through 3 years of arbitration, and I'm in my second year of arbitration. So kind of like they're 1-year contracts, and they kind of compare your stats to other people's stats, and that kind of depends on how your salary gets based. And so now, yeah, my 6 weeks away from having a kid, and yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you want to kind of talk more about that? Just you're going to become a father soon. You've got your wife, Michelle, who's, I can imagine she's just been a rock for you. And you got like a newborn child coming. Do you want to
Yeah.
just talk about that? Like what you're excited about, what you fear a little bit?
Yeah, people always ask me about Michelle. Obviously, she's my better half plus more. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary. We say that because we've been we've been legally married 5 years. We went to the courthouse because immigration stuff. But anytime I talk about Michelle, I always say, like, she's the quarterback of the team, and I'm just a slot receiver going out for passes. She kind of runs the show. And we've known each other since middle school, so
Wow.
we've kind of been able to see each other grow up in a sense. And yeah, she's been my only girlfriend I've ever had. So yeah, we started dating about halfway throughout my sophomore year. She was a junior, so she's since 6 months older than me, but in school she's the next year up. And yeah, so we ended up doing long distance, started doing long distance in college. And then when she was able to come to down for that internship, man, it was just awesome. And then, man, we just been able to travel the world. After my first professional season, we went and backpacked Australia.
Wow.
which was pretty awesome. We started and got to go see one of our good friends. Her name's Julia. She's actually here right now. She was out in San Francisco. So we were out in San Francisco for a little bit, flew from San Francisco up to Vancouver, and then Vancouver to Sydney. So we backpacked Australia, did a bunch of cool stuff, met her family in Singapore. And then she ended up backpacking Southeast Asia, which, she's just an adventurous type. So we've been all over. I just feel, and then we got to go to Italy, and, we just love to travel. We love to plan a good trip. And, I feel like time is experience, and, you don't get that time back. Right. So
Yep.
felt like it was a good time, in our 20s. it's crazy that I just turned 30 now, say I'm in my 20s, but got to travel and stuff. And yeah, she's the rock. She runs the show, and she's my better half. And now being 6 weeks away from having a kid, just like so exciting. There's so many emotions that you have. We actually went through a miscarriage, so she was about 6-7 weeks, had a miscarriage, man. That was obviously devastating. And I feel like you don't understand how likely it is to happen to females that are actually trying. And it's very likely. And obviously when we had a pregnancy announcement, I felt like it was just a time to tell people, hey, you're not alone. Like, this happened to us too. And I feel like when it happens to you, you feel like you're the only one that goes through it. And I just wanted to say, hey, it's not the case. And man, she's been solid. The mental that females go through when they're pregnant, especially going through a miscarriage, is like, what's going on in there. And, she just went for a checkup the other day. So good heart rate, everything checked out. So yeah, we're in this final stretch, and, I think we're ready for it. It's going to enhance our lives. I've always wanted to be a dad. She's always wanted to be a mom, and we still don't know the gender. So that's going to be something exciting, being in the room and actually finding out what we're having. It's the final surprises that you have in life. So, but it hasn't been easy. You're just like, what is it? She's carrying low. So is it a boy? And, is it a girl? But I kind of I want a little girl first. So, so we'll see. So we'll see. Daddy's girl would be awesome, but obviously just a healthy baby. And yeah. We're excited.
Yeah, man, that's powerful too. I think just being able to talk about the struggle, but also the positive aspects that come with that. Because especially a lot of our friends right now they're having children, they're going through that, a lot of that. So yeah, I commend you for on going through it, but also talking about it.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And her.
Yeah,
Commend
yeah.
her.
I think I think sometimes as humans, we want to see that life is all perfect and dandy, and that's like is not the case at all. Everyone's kind of figuring out themselves, and if you could talk about it, it's a lot easier to open up about it. It's topic of conversation. So yeah, we're excited to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, since we're kind of like on the topic, so what is in your eyes mental health, and how do you like cultivate mental health for yourself, like good mental health?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about that I've been happy about talking about mental health and everything that surrounds it is, it's the more that you talk about it. And this wasn't a topic a couple years ago. People would say, oh, mental health, like you're not, that's not real. And now being able to talk about it, now being able, I meditate. So I meditate for like at least 5 minutes every day. I've actually been slacking, so I need to get back on that. But
Discipline.
mental health is everything. Yeah, that's good for you. People are just like, well, why don't you just like, like, I know a lot of people that suffer from like social anxiety or depression or anxiety. And, it's, it's unfortunate because people don't understand how much of an impact it has. It's like, why don't you just be happy? It's like, you don't understand. Like, so now that we're able to talk about it, for myself, I just try to have a good mental state. It's not easy to, be positive all the time. Like, everybody has their own days, but I think for myself, I think for my mental health is just being honest with myself and being real with myself and, having good conversations. I call it the bad wolf and the good wolf. You got to just always feed the good wolf. And, I just think in certain aspects, sometimes we lose sight of sometimes what other people are going through. So I always try to put my feet in someone else's shoes and understand like, they're going through stuff too. So yeah, I'm glad that more and more people are talking about mental health and the awareness that surrounds it.
Okay. I've got a kind of an interesting one. So
Yeah.
how do you kind of plan to ensure your child has good mental health?
Yeah, so that is the biggest thing. It's, obviously you're having a kid, you don't want to mess your you don't want to mess your kid up. You always pray for a sane mind. And, I think what comes with it is just parenting. And, I feel like Misha and I, we've seen people raise their kids, and I feel like we came from good parents, and we kind of want to instill those same things. And, you always want to encourage your kids. You always want to make them feel like they're one of the best people out there and that they can do anything and that they have no limits. And I feel like just building that own confidence within themselves, hopefully that is a little easier to let them know that, they matter and, they're not the only ones out there. So I think it's a fine line of pushing your kids, but not being too hard on them to where, they go into a anxiety hole.
Completely agree. So I'm going to kind of take that into going back to like your greatness as a player and as a person. So like of all the levels you've played at, junior, in high school, you're playing in college, at the big leagues, why do you think you've been able to achieve greatness at every level you've played at?
Yeah. So have you ever heard of the Enneagram test?
Enneagram? No.
I'm gonna send it to you. So
Yeah. Okay.
like a personality types like 1 through 9, and they have like different, you take this test, like 150 questions, and you take this test. It's like you've taken the Myers-Briggs. It's like ENSJ, whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like the Myers-Briggs, like on steroids or something.
Okay.
But pretty much it's a personality test, and I'm a 3, which is an achiever, and the achiever has like a very high fear of failure. And I think just going through each level and going through and just constantly wanting just to outwork myself, whatever I was doing yesterday, just try to outwork myself. And you're a new person each day, so you can always, there's always room for improvement. And just I love to watch documentaries. So just watching documentaries on just like different players and seeing different things, and you can kind of understand like what their mental state was. And I felt like there's a lot of other guys who were physically better than me, but I felt like the mental capacity is where I really thrived, because I have a playlist that on my phone. It's called on Spotify, and it just says 90% mental, and I feel like the game is 90% mental. And I feel like if you're playing a game of failure, right? You're playing baseball, so you're gonna fail 7 out of 10 times, and if you succeed 3 out of 10, you're in the Hall of Fame. So it's like you're playing a game of failure, so you have to understand, just roll with the punches. And I feel like I was able to just, I'm still ongoing, but I was just able to take my mental and just strengthen it, and still strengthen it today.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that Kobe, what Kobe talks about, like that obsessiveness kind of almost, where you just kind of lose yourself in it entirely, and you just you do everything you can every minute of the day to kind of get better and better. Would you say you fear failure more than you love winning?
Yeah, I mean, I think failure has to do with losing, and I think I hate losing more than I love to win. So, and there can be a lot that you learn from losing. I feel like you learn more from losing than you do from winning, because you win a game, you go to the next one. You lose a game, you kind of sit in your locker for a little bit and kind of ponder why things are happening, and what you could have done better in the third inning, or if I was positioned a little better here, maybe the ball wouldn't have went through, and we wouldn't have lost by 2 runs. So I definitely think you learn more from your failures than you do from actually your success.
100% agree. I had another question that I was going to ask, but I kind of want to ask about Vanderbilt, and because there's so many good baseball players that come out of that program.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I noticed when I was at school with you guys, because our tennis team was good friends with a lot of the baseball guys as well. But even when you guys were like at the height of your, like at the College World Series, all of that, it was almost like it never got to your guys' ego. Like you never, I swear to God, you never, the guys were never like talking down to anybody. They never acted like they were above people or anything like that. They were just all good dudes, like from you to like Dansby Swanson, Walker Buehler, all these, Tyler Beatty, Yastrzemski, all these guys were just down to earth, good dudes. And so can you just talk about the culture that Coach Corbin kind of like developed and created, and that allowed you guys to all go out and then succeed at the higher levels?
Yeah, man. That all starts with, oh, dude, you already know. I think it all starts with the first day that he brings us in. Like, I remember my freshman year, first meeting, it was 3.5 hours. And we didn't even do anything on the field. We sat in the classroom and learned about it. Hey, I don't care if you're a top 100 prospect coming out of high school, a perfect game All-American. I don't care if you set records in high school, the best 9 guys are going to play. Like, that's it. And, he pretty much made guys, throw your ego out the window, mom and dad aren't here to save you. This is collegiate baseball. And I think early on we were just understanding that, obviously he was serious, and I feel like he just gets guys to buy in a certain level that, it's tough to get a lot of guys who are really good at baseball and to throw their egos out the side and like be invested in the team. He just, obviously he's great at what he does, and we might have been a little brainwashed in what we were doing out on the field at the time, but I think that we all wanted the best out of each other, and we all push each other. And yeah, he's That's why he's won multiple national, championships. And the guys that come out of the program, go on and play in the big leagues. And, the guys who won World Series, and someone's got to do with Vandy, and just guys who want to win and guys who pay attention to detail, I think.
Yeah, man. It's like undeniable, like the greatness that just comes out of there. Just churning like year after year. It's I think it's like just fascinating. And then just kind of going from college to the big leagues, what's the difference in like being on a team culture? The incentives are different, the goals are different even. So like what's the difference in team culture there?
Yeah, I think that's, my dad and my brother are really worried when I got drafted, because it was like, hey, this is pro ball. It's kind of a dog eat dog mentality. The whole team doesn't get called up. It's only you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm a firm believer in, the baseball gods, and the game will come back to you. And little things that I was doing that, like, for example, in college, there's a guy runner on second base, no outs, you're bunting him over, or you're rolling over to get the guy to third base, less than two outs. In pro ball, it's more about driving that run in because you want the RBI. But I find if you take yourself in those team at bats and you have a team at bat, the game's always going to come back and reward you in certain ways. So I've always been playing with that team mentality in a certain sense. But, especially in pro ball, you have guys from all over the world, and, guys who already went through that college deal. And, not a lot of guys love their coach or their culture how Vandy guys do. And, anywhere you go in the pro system, you hear, oh, you're a Vandy boy, like, tell me about Corbin, tell me about this. Like, there's definitely I don't know if ambiance is the word, there's definitely like a culture, chemistry, like that thing that people talk about. So
Yeah.
I think the difference is, because baseball is the most individual team sport, right? And so I just feel like you want to obviously have good individual stats, but you also want to be a good team player as well. So, and I feel like when you're in college, you're a straight team player. It's just like whatever the team needs. And then you get to pro ball, it's like, all right, I have to do what I need to do first to get my job done in order for us to win. And then I'll worry about the team. So it's like, it's a little different. You got to still be a team player, but you also have to take care of yourself.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, especially in the minor leagues too, like you can almost throw out the team entirely because you just need to get up,
Yeah.
So it's just interesting the incentives they place and how that differs from college entirely. And I can imagine that you're a big like culture, like team locker room guy, and you bring a lot of like positivity to the team in ways that aren't really measured yet, in terms of like getting guys to feel like comfortable and trust each other. And
it's an intangible.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. And would you agree that that's like something that, because almost everywhere you go, you bring success. So it's got to be something that you're allowing other people to kind of build off of.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. I think I saw how rookies got treated at certain points. And, that's why the Astros are so good, because, what they do is when a rookie comes in, there's no like walking on eggshells. It's, I want you to be as comfortable as you need to be. And, I remember just taking that mentality, just other places, and just, I wanted everyone to feel comfortable. I wanted everyone to be happy. And at the same time, like, you also want it to be loose at the same time. You get to play baseball for a living, and like, that is a huge blessing to go on. And, I get to have an off season where I have downtime. I'm going to have time to, we're having the baby in December, so I'm going to be able to have this downtime. And like, I really do think it's like the best job in the world. And it's like, I haven't even worked a day in my life yet. I don't even look at it as that. And I feel like, the time that you put in is the time that, shows up on the field. And anywhere I go, I just want people to feel comfortable and, try to just to, it is what it is mentality, and I want people to be happy. I want people to, feel like they're included.
So just before we switch gears here, just you've been at like a few different organizations. So what, from your experience, how much does the front office influence the team culture? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you always know when we call it the brass, like whenever brass is in town. So, obviously you want to have good games when the brass is in town, because obviously they're, the guys that are standing in the khakis and the dress shirts on the baseball field. Obviously it looks a little out of pocket, but I feel like it's split different places a lot. Like, for example, like the Cardinals front office, like you have to walk around, they call it like the Cardinal way. You walk around, you have to have a collar everywhere you walk around, unless you make it to the big leagues. If you're in the minor leagues, in and out of hotels, you have a collar. You walk into the field, you're at home, wear a collar shirt. And so, you kind of set that precedent of like, hey, I'm a professional, and, you need to act like it. Oakland A's are a little different. Wear sandals, wear flip-flops, do your thing, more of a California vibe. But, I think it's hit or miss. I think you could say some front offices definitely can, cultivate a different kind of culture that they're looking for. And I think other places, I feel like it's a lot of the players create that.
And what about like if you're send out to the NFL or the NBA, how would you think that would pretty much hold as well?
Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe not. I think it might be different. I'm not sure. Obviously I'm not in those professions and I say that, but I really don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, I asked mostly because I'm a Kings fan and Sacramento Kings fan. And the culture is just, it's so bad. And there's, it's
stuff needs to get fixed.
Yeah. So let's kind of switch gears here. I want to ask you about how you value time, or what comes to mind when I ask you how you value time. And really the purpose of that is because time is so central to our mental health and to everyone's brains and minds. It's something that we all value. We like, when our life is over, our time is over. And it's something that we all share. It's something that we all struggle with, just being in time. It's not an easy place to be. And how we value time is just so important to how we are going to like relate to other people, to ourselves, how we're going to, when we look in the mirror or when we think about ourselves, like how we value time is influencing that. It's going to influence how we relate to technology and nature and all of that as well. Like how do you value time, and what comes to mind when you're thinking about that?
First off, I loved your book.
Thank you.
It's just, obviously to see us playing FIFA and Smash Brothers in the dorm room to what we're doing now, man, it's pretty cool to see the timeline in that. And I remember, I wish I could go back and, screenshot the people that said Suresh wrote a book, and just like, yeah. And it was actually good. Like, obviously you're I feel like you're a guy everyone got along with and everyone liked. And I think that, you could be a clown at some points. You could go, you'd be funny. And so people, when I would suggest your book, man, it was pretty cool. The whole time thing with me, it means currency. It means your energy. And even with my wife now, I'm like, hey, like, you have to understand, like, your time and energy, like, is like, you have to treat it like currency, like literally treat it. How are you going to split that up? And, I think we've been spending a lot of our time and a lot of our energy with a lot of friends, and went to some weddings, and now is the time we can kind of turn the dial back a little bit. I start working out tomorrow for first day of the off season. workouts for me tomorrow. So kind of going to be turning the dial back and, really being selfish with our time and really it's tough because, once you come back into the off season, you want to see your friends, you want to see everybody, but at the same time, like you have to have your own time to yourself and time in your house, like time down here in the man cave where I'm just hanging out. And, you have to recharge those batteries every now and then too. Right. So, when I hear about time, I think about energy. And, for me, that I treat it like currency, and you have to got to be smart with your money.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be smart with your time and energy too. And yeah, I think that kind of goes into the fact that, like, yes, you're an incredibly like great baseball player, great human. People look up to you, and like you're literally like a leader and a person of influence, even past America. Even I would imagine people in other countries,
No, yeah. I just I don't usually sign fan mail when it comes to the house, but this certain mail came to the house, and it was a guy from Japan that wanted my autograph on a card, and I was like, you know what? If he's sending all these stamps across all like from Japan, I was like, I'm gonna sign this for him. So I sent it back the other day.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Dude. Yeah, I mean, literally the world. You like sit on a world stage and influencing people, and you're a human too. You got your own mental health. You got your own problems.
And
You
I'm not
struggle.
perfect. I'm not perfect. Like I'm not. I'm still growing every day. And I think that's the thing too is being in that spotlight, it's not like, oh, I don't want to mess up or oh whatever. It's just like, you just know that, you're not gonna please everybody. Everybody that whatever you're doing, like everyone's not gonna be happy with what you're doing. So that's the phrase, it is what it is, always comes to mind. So yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to have empathy both ways. Like you as the person who sits up here influencing people, having the empathy of just everyone else struggling as well, and then them having the empathy with you that he's just another dude too. Like he's grinding. He struggles with things.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part is like when you get to the field, you're trying to separate yourself from like all of the negative things that have been happening in your life, and you want to move in a positive direction. And there's guys all the time that are going through stuff, and then you still have to go on the field and perform. You know how that is. So and doing that at the highest level is something that Misha always says, when I get in the season mode, it's kind of just I like laser focus, just like tunnel vision pretty much. And like, I always leave the field at the field. Like I never do scouting reports. I never do stuff when I'm not when I'm at home, I'm at home. And I feel like you always need to be where your feet are. And so I feel like just try to do a good job of that, man. And just, let the chips fall where they may, man. And, now it's going to be a whole different variable with the kid and figuring all that stuff out too. But, I'm excited for a family. I'm excited for, that I don't want to call it a challenge, but it is going to be something that I'm up for, and so the sleepless nights and stuff like that, they're about to hit the fan. And Michelle's going to be a great mom. Like I already know. And, she was destined to be a mom, no doubt. So yeah, just excited.
Yeah. And how was like the new, like your baby coming in, how's that changing your perception of time?
Yeah, so I think the biggest part is, in college you learn a lot of time management with what you need to get done. I feel like, now with the kid, like your time has to be a little bit more precise, and maybe in the days where I would go work out and I hang out a little bit, I'm talking to guys, now it's like, all right, you need to be more precise with your time and get back and, help mom out with the kid. And yeah, and you're going to be crossing those bridges, here soon. So I feel like figuring out it's going to be fun. It's going to be definitely something that we have never experienced, but I think we're going to be good parents.
I'm sure you guys will be. I'm sure you guys will be. One of the really interesting things that I heard from somebody was actually my Uber driver, and she was saying she valued time not for herself anymore, but really for her children, and just wanting to be there to see them grow up and to like see their futures kind of unfold. Now,
Mhm.
so I mean, is that kind of how you're feeling a little bit now, more so? Because when you're just an individual and you don't have like the responsibilities of a family yet, you can afford to be a little bit more selfish with your time and how you perceive it. But once you start to have responsibilities and other people, you've really got to extend that out. Um,
Mhm.
so is that kind of how do you feel
Yeah.
that's something that?
No, 100%. I feel like, now, when you have a kid, a lot of your time is going to be invested in them. And, and they can feel that energy. They can feel that good, positive vibes. They can feel those things. And yeah, I feel like, you can't be as selfish with your time anymore. It's going to be more, learn teaching your kid how to walk and, things like that, and things that, your parents did for you. So now being able to see it on this side of the spectrum is definitely cool. Like, I've always been excited just to be a dad. And I think a lot of my time is going to be, spent, raising my kid.
Yeah, I mean, I think something would be wrong if that's not the truth, or if that's not the reality, or
Right.
you're gonna get divorced or something.
Exactly.
Something's gonna happen. uh, yeah, I mean, I've mostly kind of gotten what I wanted people to hear from you. Is there anything you kind of want to just talk about in general, whether it be the Titans maybe winning this year? We'll see. Could be anything.
No, if I could leave anybody with anything, it would be to go buy your book, man. I honestly do think that it's important that people understand, how important time is in your life. And once it's gone, it's gone. And yeah, your time and your energy is currency. And obviously I do hope the Titans win today, but yeah, man, I think that your book will open people's eyes up even more. And one of my neighbors actually wanted to read it. So right when I was
Cool.
done, I gave it away. So I don't even have a copy right now. But
Cool. I can send you a couple. So just let
yeah,
me know. Just
yeah,
let me know.
send me a couple, man, so I
I will.
can
I will.
like some of my family members maybe for like Christmas stocking stuffers or something.
That's a great idea. I can actually do that. I will do that. Well, dude, thank you so much for your time, bro.
Yeah.
I think this conversation is super valuable, and like I said, people look up to you, and I think they'll benefit a lot just from hearing you talk about things that they probably think about all the time.
I think it's cool to see how our friendship is, we've always kept in contact, and we've
Yep.
always kind of, I think we always kind of, that's all we always kind of vibe together because we always kind of had the same energy. So, yeah, dude, if you ever need anything else from me, dude, just don't hesitate to text me.
Absolutely, dude. I thank you again, man. I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, dude, appreciate it. Anchor down.
Yep. Anchor down, baby. Let's get it.